Hey guys, what's up? It's Onepeg. I don't typically like to do videos like this because I think that it has a tendency to become, for lack of a better term, polarizing. Most people in the community have a tendency to look at the things that people like myself say because I tend to be a little bit more, I guess, vocally authoritative in tone as being something that means I'm trying to hate on somebody or I'm looking at a situation, too critically or whatever. At the same time, it's been requested a lot, especially as of recent, if I could speak as to the current state of Tarkov as a game and its development cycle and how I look at, I guess, the meta of the game. Because, after 4,200, 4,300 hours of raid time and being, I guess, a student of this game and the strategies behind it, I think I have a pretty good grasp on what's going on with it. Now, obviously, I'm not Pestily, right? And I'm not Veritas. And sometimes the things that I say tend to go off a little half-cocked. But I can say that I am not one to, I guess, sugarcoat stuff as much. And I do believe that I speak from, a point of genuine belief. I'm not trying to say stuff to just trigger people, I guess is a good way to put it. So I guess the easiest way to start off talking about this would be to talk about, I guess, the meta. A lot of people in Tarkov have a tendency to feel like the game that was once a bit more arcade in feel and a bit more PvP centric has started working its way toward a sense of looting and then getting out. Mostly, it seems as though, unless you are an amazing player like Landmark or Willers or Pest or Slush or many of the other people that have rather high survival rates, Quattro Ace, Bikizi, etc., they don't have a tendency to generate an overwhelming amount of wealth if they are focusing on the PvP aspect and just trying to either outthink, outflank, or outbrain, or just plain old outshoot the people that they're coming across. And those quote-unquote Chad gamers, more often than not, tend to be a bit of a rarity. You don't have a tendency to see people that go in with large kits in an attempt to kind of overcome, and just outplay people. Because let's face it, the times that people have the most fun, I would argue, in Tarkov is when you're able to run that big meta HK and a pretty, I guess, protective kit of gear and really work through a map and just game on people, right? That's not to say it's going to happen every time. And I would say that the people that have more experience have a tendency to do that more often than people that don't. And I'm not even really one of them because, combined with my age and the fact that my brain just works a little bit slower than somebody that's 19 or 20 or 22 or 24 years old, 25 years old, hell, even 30 years old. Those people have a tendency to react faster than me. And I'm not trying to sit here and say that I am the greatest thing ever when it comes to shooters. I think I'm okay, especially for my age, but I'm nowhere near as good as most of like the really, really good streamers that you can watch. But those people are a rarity. And I think overwhelmingly the player base has had to push itself further and further toward those, I guess, rat tactics, where it's more sneaking, more hiding, more camping in order to be able to, I guess, take out those big game players in order to be able to reap the reward and get some things that are a bit more lucrative. The unfortunate reality that comes along with that, I think, is that there's also this contingency of the player base that instead of ratting and playing slow, goes in just as, I guess, nearly naked or low geared as the rat-ish players. But then those are the people that do the rushing, the first 10 minutes where people just try to get to those loot rooms. And then you have the Chad gamers that kind of go in either right alongside them or just behind them to then catch them, hopefully before they get all of the loot in their gamma containers and get some of that for themselves. Then you have this section of time where the Chad gamers kind of like go through the map, collect things, kill stuff, do their thing, and then on their way out, that's when the rat players have a tendency to have been lying in wait and catch them unaware. And that is usually where I think the frustration of those Chad players exists. The question is, what can you do about it? And I don't know what the answer is. I think there's a place for people that want to play slow and strategic. And I think there's a place for people that don't. The risk that you take on either side is the rat player wasted all of their time if they get caught, but they didn't really lose anything other than time. And I think the Chad gamer kind of got what they wanted to get out of the game in terms of the adrenaline rush and the aggressive play and that behavior, if only then to get caught and then be frustrated. So I think there's frustration on both sides. Then there's this other conversation about Stims and how that's negated the whole idea of the weight system in the game. And, there's that whole aspect of the player base that thinks that the weight system itself is stupid. Now, I personally like the weight system. I think that any other survival-related game tends to have some type of weight-related penalty, be it, faster stamina degradation or slower movement or, general lethargy, getting tired, getting exhausted. I think that there's a place for that. It should be in there somewhere because there should be some type of an incentive for people to want to play a little bit lighter and a little bit more mobile, right? And at the same time, I think that it also helps the people that died and those frustrations if they know that there's a chance or a greater chance that they're going to get back a bit more stuff in their insurance returns than what it was before the weight system. With the introduction of Stims, there's a little bit less pressure. People bring in a mule, right? 30K rubles to get another 50% weight capacity, which means the moment that you hit red weight, you pop the stim, and now you're back to yellow. You can sprint, you can move, you can jog. Now, your stamina might still drain when you're walking, but at least you're able to move a bit, right? And I actually like this because there's a trade-off. Something like a mule stim that causes your HP to degrade slowly over time and also causes you to take increased damage. You take another 9% extra damage to your body. I like that because I think that that requires you to have to kind of play around what that stim does. At the same time, you also end up in a situation where you have to prepare a loadout around those things, right? There's no sense in bringing a mule stim if you're going on a rat run. Not really. Because the chance that you're going to find somebody that's got kit or kits that are thick enough to where you would need that in order to be able to get out is slim to none. And in most cases, the people that are doing rat runs need every little square because they're trying to maximize what it is that they can get out, right? Especially if they're loot running. Loot runners, you're not going to bring a mule stim. So it's almost hand in hand that somebody that brings in something like a mule that's going to increase their weight capacity would more than likely end up bringing in a larger kit themselves because they're planning on filling up a larger backpack with stuff. And people aren't going to bring in a larger backpack and only have a pistol. Not normally. Not unless they're really trying to gamble it or, they plan on avoiding PvP entirely and they're doing a pistol run around the perimeter of interchange or something like that, getting stash loot. So I feel like in the situation where you're using stims for a specific purpose, you're planning around the use of those stims, right? And I don't commonly see situations where, unless people are like, trying to bum rush resort for lead X's and get to 301 first or something like that, where they're taking a cocktail of stims in order to be able to increase their sprint speed. So I don't really see stims or the weight system as something that's overwhelmingly negative. The largest problem I think that I have with the game right now, if there is a problem, is still this existence of the cheating player base. Every game has cheaters. Every one of them. But I've never played a game where the existence of cheaters has completely deterred me from accessing a specific bit of the game's content before. Ever. It's always been a situation where I've seen people, speed hacking, aimbotting. You come across that stuff in every competitive game, no matter whether it's League of Legends where they're using overlays that you're not supposed to have, aimbotting on Modern Warfare, if it's, ESP stuff on various games, and all of the other things in between that we've all seen through the years and years and years of time that we've spent gaming. The problem with Tarkov specifically is the sense of loss, right? And even in large scale, very griefy games like Ark, for instance, where aimbot and ESP and meshing and cheating as a whole, modifying things via post effects and shader modifications of the graphics in the game so that you can see people underwater, all of that. Even with all of that and the sense of loss associated with it, Ark is still an easier game once established, especially if you have large tribes, etc., to be able to maintain a certain level of status quo. In Tarkov, you don't ever really get to the point where you're, I guess, too big to truly fail. Yes, it can be frustrating, but there's never a feeling in Tarkov where you've excelled to the point where you can't get set back to a level of frustration that puts you back into the grind again, right? Unless you've farmed hundreds and hundreds of millions of rubles and your survival rate is so high that it just doesn't matter anymore, I guess. A perfect example of this is a tweet that Veritas put out yesterday. Now, V was trying to complete the guide series, and he very simply just wanted to go into labs because that's the first raid that you need to do. Really, if you're trying to follow the strategy of this, you want to go to labs first because that's the one that people are going to survive the least. Not necessarily because of the bots, but because of the presence of cheaters. Labs is awful. I completely avoid it. Most of the gamers, most of the players of labs that I know that love labs have a tendency now to overwhelmingly avoid labs because of the presence of cheaters. Only for 2 days, this entire patch, when BSG announced via a large tweet that they banned an overwhelming number of hidden people or private cheaters that were reported by the player base, only for like a 48-hour period from when that tweet went out that I feel comfortable enough to run labs and didn't run into a hacker. Day 3, it's all over there again. But V releases this video clip. Sixth raid, sixth attempt in a row where he had tried to go in with a $1 million+ ruble kit, AK with BS ammo, hits somebody 6 times, doesn't finish him off. They fire once, hit him head eyes, instantly kill him. And it was the 6th raid in a row where he was instantly tapped from somebody just randomly. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily in this clip the guy was a cheater, although it looks really weird. There's no way to tell. But 6 raids in a row to have this exact same scenario happen and say that none of them had somebody in there that was doing something weird or sus, I find that hard to believe. Statistically, that's almost impossible. You never see that. Not for somebody that's as good at shooters as they are. And let's face it, Veritas is good at shooters. Okay, say what you will, whatever your opinions are. Veritas is a really good friend of mine. But all of that aside, he's still good. He's better than me. And I had a 50% survival rate before the hackers got crazy in that place, right? When labs came out, I think I ran labs almost solely. That was like the only map I ran for like 1,500 straight raids. Since the prevalence of RMT has gotten as big as it is, since all of the hacking in labs has gotten as prevalent as it has, it just doesn't feel any fun at all. And it's a shame because I actually love labs as a map. I love the challenge of it. I like the idea that there's no insurance. It feels good to go in there. It really does. And I don't know how to fix this, and that's the problem. Because the loot in labs being as good as it is and as challenging as labs can be and as good as what you can get out of there just purely from the, I guess, extra risky PvE and the PvP aspects of that map, it's too compelling for people when they're cheaters to go in there. It's the most lucrative map there is. And I guess now that the meta of the cheaters has shifted from something of buy my loot for real money, it's now pay me to run you through maps and you loot the stuff instead. And you just have somebody zip through the map and kill everything and tell you where the bodies are. It will be an impossibility to get rid of cheating altogether. There's no way that BSG is going to be able to do that. There will always be somebody that cheats. There will always be that frustration. What BSG needs to do, I think, is to make it so difficult for someone to cheat or to make money on the cheating. Make it so complicated, so complex, so many hoops to jump through that it just becomes too much of a deterrent. Or the other option would be to make your game accounts verified via SMS and register the accounts with a phone number. That's the only other thing I could think of, is the account has to be registered with like a cell phone number. Of course, cheaters could use burners, because I don't think the buyers would use burners. I think the buyers would end up registering a phone number with like their cell phone, because they're figuring, oh, I'm just a consumer. But on the consumer end, if they get whacked, if you cut off the money, you know what I mean? I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I stupid? At the end of it all, I think that Tarkov is a great game. I don't want to make it sound like it's not. We all have frustrations about this game that we love. And the only reason why I'm even talking about this is because I genuinely care about the success of the game. I mean, shit, I would still be some schlub slinging life insurance policies and stocks and mutual funds for a living, hating my life if it wasn't for the existence of this game. This game was so compelling that I decided to become a content creator, and now I'm here, and I've been working and being able to pay my family for the last couple of years because of the existence of this game. You know? I feel like this kind of resurrected my creative spirit, and I love BSG for what they've made, and I love the fact that I'm able to be here and be able to talk to you and know that there's going to be a bunch of you out there that are going to watch this stupid video and, you know, say something hateful in the comments about something that I've said up until this point. I think that if this game were able to take care of the cheating aspect to the point where it was at least manageable, or speed up the detection process so that people were hit faster than the profitability of cheating, then it wouldn't be as prevalent. And maybe then we could get into labs and actually enjoy that map again. For the guys that run labs only, you guys have huge brass clanking balls. I envy you. I'm way too frustrated by that map to do it. But I commend your effort. I don't know how you manage it. But I look really forward to the day, hopefully, that we'll be able to get back in there and run it. And maybe the answer is the multi-zonal stuff that they're planning on doing. Maybe once Streets exists, it'll be a thing. If there's a way for them to change the netcode away from client authoritative, even though that's kind of what Unity is, maybe then. I don't know. Anyway, I'm rambling. But thank you guys for taking the time to, I guess, listen to me. And we'll see you in the next video, okay? Little Things is coming soon, I promise. Peace.